I'm Marcia Tillotson with Wells Fargo Advisors, but today, on behalf of my parent company and today's signature sponsor, Wells Fargo, I welcome you to the 2011 YWCA Central Carolina's We Believe annual fundraising luncheon. Jay Everett, who heads up the community support programs at Wells Fargo, and Tammy Simmons, who heads up the community development area at Wells Fargo, couldn't be here today. So I was honored that they asked me to represent the bank as the signature sponsor for today's luncheon. They know what a huge YWCA fan I am, so I was pleased to agree to do such. They didn't tell me, however, that to represent Wells Fargo, you have to get a stagecoach tattoo. I'm a company girl, so I have a little stagecoach tattoo here. It's just like Madeline Caples and Joel Glasgow's and the other team members. And the tattoo artist, as he was putting it on, suggested, he said, it's very popular to put it on your lower back right now. A lot of the kids do that. And I said, well, that is a great idea, except I've already got the Wachovia wave there. So I know when kids speak of tattoo regret what they're talking about now. I should mention that our own Tammy Simmons will soon be taking the reins of the heading up the board of directors for the YWCA. Thank you. We're very pleased. And she's got some big boots to fill. She'll be following in that role. Angela Broom is currently in that role. Thank you, Angela. I hope you will all note my stagecoach-themed phrases that I use: taking the reins, big boots to fill, company girl. I want Wells Fargo to think I did a really good job here today when our leaders are really out of town. So I would appreciate it if we had a little pickup in business at Wells Fargo this afternoon. And so if you could just, on your way home, stop by your local branch and open up a way to save or a little checking account or something. That'd be great. And in fact, we could probably be more organized about it. If, maybe we could say if this side of the room would open up a checking account and this side of the room would refinance your mortgage this afternoon with Wells Fargo, that'd be great. And I think they would be convinced that this sponsorship was the right thing to do. If you do that, I'd appreciate it. I'm extremely proud to have the opportunity to brag on Wells Fargo and their community involvement, our community involvement here in Charlotte, and to also share why I'm such a big YWCA fan. Wells Fargo understands the importance of supporting our community and the positive change that comes when we help women, children, and their families. We provide financial and human capital that translated to over $8 million in the Charlotte area last year. Also, we have 200 of our associates serving on nonprofit boards in our community, and we also have over 8,000 of our local team members who are actively involved in volunteering in nonprofits, and I'm very proud that Wells Fargo gets it. And it's fairly obvious, I think, why I'm such a big YWCA fan. If you just read the mission statement that's in the annual report, in case you don't know, the mission statement for the YWCA is that the YWCA Central Carolinas is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Now, doesn't that just about cover it all? I mean, who among us wouldn't want that to be our mission statement? And today's luncheon theme, we believe, I'll make you one promise today on this luncheon. When you leave here today, you may not believe what we believe, but you'll believe we believe it. And I think you'll believe in the difference that the YWCA, with your help, is making in the Charlotte community. And I can't even tell you what an incredible view this is, what a sea of supporters and genuine love I see out there for the YWCA. I wish everybody could stand up. Maybe if we have time at the end, you can each file by and stand up here, because it's quite the view. But since you don't have it, I'm going to describe a little bit of what I see today. And although I'm looking out now and I see 5 or 6 of you with focaccia bread in your teeth, a couple of women with lipstick on their teeth. See, one man at the back just did this. It's not you, sir. I really see is from here is, as I said, a lot of genuine love and support for this organization. I see many who have been past and present financial supporters, and I think I see some today that will be financial supporters for the first time and joining that group. I see many who have given and continue to give countless hours in volunteering for this organization in many, many areas. Some who haven't may leave today and think, you know, I could do something, maybe if it's not financial, I could do something and volunteer with some of the many programs that the YWCA has, and you'll hear about a little bit today. Either with programs such as the Women in Transition, or Families Together, or the Orange Crush Swim Team, or you may simply choose just to look at the website and look at the needed items for some of these programs and simply donate shampoo. But we hope you'll do something. I see many who are members of the W and take advantage of the fitness facility, or a yoga class, or Zumba, or use one of the personal trainers at Industrial Strength, or simply take a water aerobics class. I see others of you who are thinking, they've got Zumba? Yeah, I think I see some new members at the YWCA in 2011, just in this room. I see some individuals who have already included the YW in their estate planning, and I see some people who are thinking to themselves, you know, I should probably do that, and you should. I see members of the newly formed 1902 Society. This is a group of young professionals, both male and female, that are gathering to promote volunteerism and foster civic engagement. They're launching a social, I think, on March 10th, is that right, at the Sunset Grill. It's young people, but I don't know where that cuts off. So please, I see some young people looking at their BlackBerries to see if they're available on March 10th. Please check that out. That's a group you should be involved in. I see some members of the YW Tri Club, some at my table. I had the unique opportunity to watch that group form last year from the sidelines, I might add. I was not in that group. But I watched a handful of women, ages 25 to 60, didn't know each other, all different shapes and sizes and colors and professions, come together with one common goal, and that was to complete a sprint triathlon. They had a coach that works at the Y. I think Jody's in the finance area, I think. And I watched them over several months as they trained together 3 times a week for several months. And I watched the bond form between those women, and I thought, there goes the YWCA again, empowering women. I hope some of you that are out there that would like to have the challenge of completing a sprint triathlon. Now remember, some of these women didn't have bikes when they started, and some of them hadn't been in a pool since they were kids. You might want to give that a shot. They're looking for new members. I see in this room an opportunity for each of us to support this amazing organization and its mission through financial means, or by getting involved in one of the many programs, or simply just by joining the YWCA. And I challenge you to pick one of these today. At the helm of all that happens at the YWCA is Kirsten Sickley, a Davidson graduate, and also she holds a certificate in nonprofit management from Duke University. Much of the growth of the current YW's programs have her fingerprints all over them. If you don't believe in the YWCA yet, spend some one-on-one time with Kirsten and you will. To say I am honored to introduce her is an understatement. To say I am in awe of her is much closer to the mark. Please help me welcome our strongest believer and the YWCA's CEO, Kirsten Sickley.
Wow, Marcia's right. The view is incredible up here. It's very hard to follow Marcia Tillotson. I want you all to feel for me here. Marcia, thank you so much for your warm welcome, and thank you to Wells Fargo for being an incredible sponsor and community partner. I need to let you all know that we were blown away putting together the sponsor list for this luncheon. The overwhelming support was just amazing. And thanks to our sponsors at all levels, this luncheon was completely paid for and all the pieces associated with it before we ever walked into this ballroom. I want you all to know that. I'd like to recognize and thank the remaining sponsors now, and it is a long list, so if you could hold your applause till the end, I would appreciate it. Our presenting sponsors are Apartment Realty Advisors, Duke Energy, Faison Enterprises, and Piedmont Natural Gas. Our sustaining sponsors are AT&T North Carolina, Bank of America, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, Coca-Cola Bottling Company Consolidated, and Morgan Stanley. Our maintaining sponsors are Alston & Bird LLC, Apollo Graphics, BB&T, Brown Brothers Harriman, Carolinas Healthcare System, Dixon Hughes PLLC, Elliott Davis, First Citizens Bank, Food Lion, Monahan Group, SunTrust, Sylvan Learning Centers, University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and Wells, Daisley, and Rabin. We are deeply grateful to this incredible array of sponsors. Please help me give them a big round of applause. It's my great joy to share with you just some of the highlights from our YWCA this year. We continue to deepen our commitment to the elimination of racism. Our board, our staff, and this larger YWCA family share a heightened sense of urgency about the need to combat racial injustice in our community. We've hosted community forums at the YWCA, we've used media outlets to spark conversations around the subject, and we've partnered with other groups such as Get Real 2011 and Mecklenburg Ministries, who also embrace this vision of a racially just Charlotte. We are planning our second Stand Against Racism Day, a day of awareness that we will share with YWCAs throughout the country, and I hope you'll look out for our communications to you about how you can be involved on that day, which will be April 29th, 2011. It does happen to be the same day that William and Kate are getting married, so we are not going to have events in the morning because we want you to be able to recover from watching the royal wedding. They'll all be late afternoon. We know better than to fight the media on that one. In our fantastic youth programs department, all 10 of our youth learning centers, which are dotted throughout Charlotte and in Monroe and Union County, serving over 250 5 through 12-year-old youth every weekday. We're a bustle of nonstop activity and enrichment opportunities. As a Crossroads Charlotte organization, which we feel very strongly about, we forged many long-term partnerships with corporate and university volunteers. And these volunteers come in and wrap love and support around our children and stay with them consistently throughout the year. They also use a teaching tolerance curriculum, which was created by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which allows them to lead the children through thought-provoking but age-appropriate activities that help them to start to think about combating bias and discrimination. We also had some fun with an Art and Science Council grant, which allowed our children to learn the thrill of painting with acrylics on canvas, and 10 original artworks done by our children were hung in the rooftop pavilion of the Harvey B. Gantt Center, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, what we've learned that this means is that they are never going back to crayons and markers. And lastly, you heard us, if you were here last year, talk a little bit about the Accelerated Reader program, and that is being used in all 10 of our youth learning centers, and I want you to know that of the many reading tests taken in all of the youth learning centers, our kids have passed 83% of them. In transitional housing, now we have 2 transitional housing programs. We do a lot of things collaboratively when we can, and we launched a new program called Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World. And this is based upon the groundbreaking research of Ruby Payne and Philip Duvall. What that does is once a week over a 4-month period, women from Women in Transition and moms from Families Together get together in a kitchen table setting and unpack the concepts of what happens when you're in generational poverty and how that impacts your life choices and your life opportunities and how they can shift that mental model and that mindset that they have to make better choices for themselves. We intend to learn a lot from them as they finish up the course in the next month. In our Women in Transition program, we deepened a collaboration with Dove's Nest, and we are now serving as their aftercare for women who are in recovery from addictions. They come into our Women in Transition program afterwards. That connection was a natural fit, and it's amazing to us and to the women that we serve how well both programs work when they're working together. In Families Together, we entered the second year of a powerful alliance with the Charlotte Housing Authority, forging a Section 8 subsidy partnership that's a win for the YWCA, a win for the Charlotte Housing Authority, and most importantly, a long-term win for families who are overcoming homelessness. And in our co-ed fitness center, Marcia stole some of my comments, I have to tell you, donors transformed this outdated multi-purpose room that we had. The multi-purpose room that we had was a cement floor with blue and gray linoleum over it, and you can imagine jumping up and down on that floor doing aerobics was really painful on the knees. And thanks to friends who sponsored square yards of rolled good flooring, we have a completely transformed room that is just beautiful. If you're looking for a fitness home, and I know Marcia already made her pitch, but I have to too, we would love to have you. It is a co-ed fitness center. We find that we're reminding people all the time that real men do love the YWCA. You can practice yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi. You can work with a personal trainer, swim laps, do cardio, take any of our wonderful classes. I think we have the best instructors in town. And most importantly, you can just exercise your body and declutter your mind at a place where there are an array of life-changing programs for our community. Marcia also mentioned that we are kicking off the new year with a young adults affinity group. And you need to know that I'm a little too old to lead that. So we have staff and volunteers who are of the Generation Y generation who have planned this affinity group. And it is named the 1902 Society. You might ask why. 1902 is the year that this YWCA was founded in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we felt that the visionary women of the YWCA in 1902 could be carried forward by the visionary women of 2011. And as Marcia mentioned, we're going to have a kickoff at the Sunset Grill on March 10th. If you or anyone you know and love would be interested in being a part of that group, we believe it's going to help make our very relevant mission real for a new generation. In closing, I want to commend the staff and the volunteers of the YWCA Central Carolinas. They make our programs amazing, and we take great pride in the fact that person after person who walks into any of our YWCA doors says that they feel met with genuine warmth and the spirit of possibility. You know from your own experiences at work, at home, that in order to have a positive environment like that, it takes ongoing care and tending. And it's never to be taken for granted. So if you are a board member, an advisory council member, a volunteer in any fashion, or a staff member, will you please stand so that we may thank you? I now have the great pleasure of introducing our next speaker. We are thrilled that Tia Rodgers, a 15-year-old sophomore from Myers Park High School, is here to talk with you today. Tia and her family are a part of our Families Together program, and on the Park Road campus, for those of you who have not visited, we have a wonderful community of 10 families of all shapes and sizes working hard towards greater stability and permanent housing. Tia is a very strong student. She's in healthy competition right now with another classmate, a teenaged boy, and they are neck and neck to see who can get the highest grade in the class that they're in. They're currently tied for the top grade in their class. So as you'll hear from Tia when she shares a bit of her story with you, she went out on a limb to take part in the Harding University High School Band, even though she was not a student there. Her band director, Anthony Jones, when we spoke last week, said he tells his band students that Tia is an inspiration. He says to me, I tell them, you know, you're a part of band and you don't think anything of it. And here's your bandmate catching the city bus to ride all the way across town to come be a part of our practice. You all might be involved, but Tia is committed. He went on to tell me this. It's students like Tia who remind me of why I wanted to become a teacher. We are so proud and honored for our community to meet this delightful and inspiring young woman. Please join me in welcoming Tia Rodgers.
Before moving into the YWCA's Families Together program, me, my mom, and my 4 siblings were all living in a little one-bedroom efficiency. We were a strong family, but you can only imagine. We were on top of each other. We never had any privacy. Joining Families Together 18 months ago was a relief, just getting to have some space. The pressure I was feeling lifted almost immediately. When I moved into the YWCA with my family, that was my first impression. Finally, space to breathe. The next impression I remember came from a staff member, Kenya Henderson. She said to me that everyone has a strength. It would be her job to help me discover my strength, and it would be my job to nurture it. That was the first time in my life I ever thought about opportunity, that I had opportunities. A special part of Families Together is the Nurturing Parenting curriculum. It's for parents with preschoolers. My mom, who already loves us very much, has been the one participating in Nurturing Parenting with Kenya. But I've learned a lot from it too. Before we joined Families Together, I would say, well, I wasn't the most nurturing sister. I didn't really want to hang out with them. Just let me watch TV, okay? But now, I really like to just be with them. I like to do things with them and see them happy. We made cookies together. And although I got the first batch a little burnt, we had so much fun. You'd have thought I was taking them to Disney World. So, I've been thinking about what sparked this change in me to be a more nurturing person. And I think it's that I saw all the support and caring all around me, so I wanted to give that support and care to others. My family is getting a lot of support and encouragement to make the life we want happen for us. People are helping us to connect the dots, so I want to do that for others. I see people at the YWCA doing great work. I want to be one of the people in this world who does great work too. It really motivates me. And it's not just staff, but other families that encourage me. I met my best friend, Bria, in Families Together. Bria and her family were already living in the YWCA when my family arrived. I didn't used to make friends fast, but Bria is just so friendly. She reached out to me. Before long, we were best friends. We had these notebooks, and we called them the Ias, since both our names, Tia, Bria, end in Ia. We write in them every day and then swap them the next day. When we first start writing in the Ias, it was just about our day at school or superficial stuff. Later on, we start writing about our dreams, how we feel, and what we can do about it. We focused on the heart. Bria's my rock. Bria and I learned about a great program for teens through one of the YWCA's partners. It's called Teens Taking Action, which is a really awesome peer education program. Everyone knows that teens listen to each other more than they do their parents. As a peer educator, we're empowered to make informed, lifelong decisions about healthy behaviors. I can listen to my peers without judging them, but I can talk to them using real-life facts. Having facts is empowering to me and has made me more confident. I think it helps me to be a positive influence on my peers. I was worried when Bria's family was moving out of families together and into permanent housing. Bria was too. How are we going to stay connected? Bria goes to Harding University High School, and I go to Myers Park High School. We decided we had to find something we could do together. So we both joined Harding University High School's band. Even though I go to Myers Park, I played cymbals for Harding. Band is so much fun. I had no idea about this, but cymbals can really cut your arms. My coach would tape up my arms, so they gave me the nickname ER. Every band member has a nickname. I love that band, and they love me right back. I'm proud of what I've learned about myself in the past 18 months. I'm living an empowered life. I'm really here for the people I love, my friends, my family, my bandmates. They have another nickname for me at Myers Park High School. They call me the counselor. It's okay with me. I know I have many more opportunities ahead of me. I'm learning Spanish. I want to be a neurologist and help patients in Spanish-speaking areas of the world. I know our family is stronger together because of the YWCA. I want to thank all of you for making the magic of the YWCA spark in me. It's sparking for my mom, my neighbors, and for so many others. Your support and encouragement are gifts you've given me. And just so you know, I plan to keep giving them back.
Tia, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Chief Rodney Monroe. Rodney Monroe became chief of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department 2.5 years ago. Chief Monroe leads the largest municipal police department in the state of North Carolina, with 1,650, give or take, sworn members and 200 civilian members. With more than 30 years of experience in law enforcement, Chief Monroe is a recognized innovator and a practitioner of community policing. Since joining the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, he has worked to prevent and tackle crime by placing more officers on the street, by policing in the neighborhood level, and by building strong partnerships with federal and local law enforcement agencies. He is quickly on the scene at every homicide, his steady presence underscoring the gravity of that loss of life. As a native of the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area, as am I, Chief Monroe served the D.C. Police Department for 21 years. Prior to taking the helm in Charlotte, Chief Monroe served as police chief in Macon, Georgia, and most recently in Richmond, Virginia. But at the YWCA, we claim Chief Monroe as family. He knows parents and other caring adults have to be engaged in supporting young people. Chief Monroe inspired a group of these parents, mostly fathers, at a YWCA event last year called Strong Men Pushing Reading. He visits our youth learning centers, and our young people have come to know him well as an ally in their success. He rallied with us at our first Stand Against Racism event last year. And this holiday season, he called me one morning and said, "I want to bring some Secret Santas to the Families Together program." And armed with money to give away, he and his comrades escorted a merry band of Secret Santas to the doors of the YW to make the holidays brighter for families who are overcoming homelessness. As Chief Monroe said his first week on the job in Charlotte, statistics are one thing, how people feel is another. Rodney Monroe shares our sense of urgency that children and families who need support and opportunity must be met with both. And justice is best served when people have genuine hope for their future and a realistic way to meet their goals. Please join me in welcoming our Chief of Police, Rodney Monroe.
Tia, if you mind if I use your stool back here? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Before I get started, I would like to recognize another chief amongst us today, one that has more stars than I, Mrs. Chief, my wife and best friend for over 35 years, Marcia Monroe. Thank you, Kirsten, for that kind introduction, and I also want to thank you for your leadership and your stewardship, and especially for your advocacy in reaching out to me early in my tenure here. I'm here to say that real men do believe in the YWCA. To get me connected with the great work that's taking place here. It is such an honor to be here today and take part in this truly special event. In the work that I do, I am fortunate to have the opportunity to touch the lives of so many people. Although some of those people whose lives I have touched wish that I didn't. But today I feel especially honored to have my life touched by the families of the YWCA, especially the young woman we heard from earlier, Miss Tia Rodgers. Thank you, Tia. Tia is just one example of the great work being carried out by the staff of the YWCA. And evidenced by the personal story Tia shared, the YWCA is helping to change lives. As chief, I have seen the real-life stories of how the YWCA is engaging the community and helping families and youth to overcome barriers to see their success. I understand their challenge and understand that building a safety net for families requires the support of more than one person or one agency. It is truly dependent upon the resources of the entire community. That's why I want to say thank you to all of you for being part of this special event. Just by the mere presence you bring here today, each of you represent the many threads that weave this community into a single fabric. You represent the resources, opportunities, and help that make success stories like Tia's a reality for so many families. Having been in law enforcement for more than 30 years, I've come to understand the pivotal role each agency, each community organization, and each person plays in weaving the fabric of community support. Many of you probably know that I began my public service career in the front lines as a police officer in Washington, D.C. What you don't know is that I nearly walked away from that policing profession because I started to feel helpless in preventing the loss of young lives to the streets. The tipping point was over 12 years ago when I responded to a homicide scene and there was a young girl, 15 years of age, that was murdered. Her circumstances were that she was living by herself in an apartment that her mother had vacated to go live with a boyfriend. It did not take long for some older person to take advantage of this young girl. That led her down a path that ultimately cost her life. From that point, I knew I wanted to do more with our young people. I wanted to work with an organization that would prevent young people from falling prey to the streets. During my time working in large urban communities like D.C., Richmond, and Charlotte, I've witnessed families operating under very challenging circumstances, and I realized that just being a police officer is not enough. The challenges we face today require true passion for helping people. You have to understand and embrace the community as a whole, not just the crime-fighting aspects. I also learned that while our primary role must always focus on crime reduction and holding criminals accountable for their actions. Law enforcement professionals have a greater role to play within our community. We must be strong advocates for the silent lives that are screaming for our help. Moving up the ranks, this became even more evident. And becoming a police chief, I know today, more than ever, that we in law enforcement cannot ignore the bigger picture, and that is the picture of our entire community. We are just one of the threads that weaves a community together, and we are part of the entire safety net that helps support the families that live in our community. It doesn't matter if you're homeless, jobless, or all of the above. We play a pivotal role in helping develop solutions to the many social ills that impact our entire community. We also play an important role in helping families to gain access to the full array of needs and support. Over the years, I've had the fortune of meeting thousands of people, men, women, and children, who have directly experienced some of those very issues I just mentioned. It doesn't matter what city we're in. The people have been different, but the stories have been the same. For many, it's economic situations. For others, it's the result of circumstances such as low self-esteem, domestic violence, mental illness, or the lack of other opportunities. In each case, they are facing difficult and challenging circumstances that require the support of all of us. In many cases, these supports are so critical to families that they could mean the difference between their success or their failure, life or death, from generation to generation. Hearing Tia's story reaffirms the importance of the community having support systems in place that help families to deal with those challenges. It also reminds me of the resilience of the human spirit and how, with the right support systems in place, so many people are creating their own success stories. When I think about those families I've worked with over the years, it is their courage and their spirit of determination in the face of struggle that inspires me in my job. That is why I still feel as passionate about my job today as the first day I was sworn in as a police officer. I know that I was called to public service for a reason, and I truly believe we all have a role to play in serving our community. I realized long ago it's not the gun and the badge that allowed me to save lives. It's the compassion and love for human life that has truly helped to save lives. I have always been intrigued and uplifted by the strong, determined human spirit. The ability, what some would call ordinary people, to overcome the challenges and obstacles of life to accomplish the extraordinary. This has always been fascinating to me, and it is, in fact, one of the very things that brought me into the world of public service and policing. Even as a 12-year-old kid growing up in the streets of Washington, D.C., I knew I wanted to become a cop. And today, as we sit in this room and hear the story of the Rodgers family and personal triumphs of Tia, the relentless reach of the human spirit again touches me. It is especially gratifying when I think about the fabric, or should I say the safety net, that exists through a great organization like the YWCA. From providing havens for women and their children, allowing them to maintain the high level of dignity and respect in the face of their challenges, to exploring opportunities where even young people like Tia can take advantage of resources that allow them to develop and exercise leadership roles and role modeling skills. And what about the life skills that are gained through the YWCA programs? Helping families to move from dependency to independency and build their own social capital. As Kirsten mentioned, just last year I visited the YWCA's Strong Men Pushing Reading program and had a chance to see firsthand how this organization is strengthening the family connection through the entire family, bringing in men and fathers who are key to the link of family support and stability. Through the YWCA, families are realizing much-needed hope and opportunity. Most institutions have a written statement of values or some other visible manifestation of their value system. Some align their organizational culture and activities around these values or principles, and some do not. Some give strong credence to their value system, and some do not. But what I personally know to be true, since I've had the pleasure of working with the YWCA, is that the YWCA doesn't just write out their value system, they carry it out each and every day. When you walk through the YWCA's community, and yes, it is a community, you witness the love, the compassion, the strength, the hope, the opportunities, and so much more. As we listened to Tia's story, we were able to see the real-life example of how the fabric of a community has been woven in the life of the family at the YWCA. We heard how the great organization has given a mom, a daughter, a sister, and a friend the chance to discover their purpose, not just for the day, but for their future. It's not a coincidence, and it's certainly not an accident, that Tia and her family were drawn here to the YWCA. It's no accident that Tia and Bria were drawn together through a bond and through friendship. And it's definitely not an accident that we are all here today in this room to hear her story. This is a momentous occasion, and it is something more powerful than any person in this room. Hearing Tia's story, I think about a quote I once read, which said, "If you limit your choices only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want, and all that is left is compromise." In listening to Tia, I think about the role that choices and opportunities play in all of our lives. Tia made a choice to take advantage of the opportunity that exists through the YWCA. And even in the face of what could have been seen as an obstacle, she didn't allow her circumstances to limit her choices. Today, Tia continues to make choices around her future and even the future of her peers. The YWCA helped her to feel empowered and to make these choices. The young lady that I mentioned earlier did not have the opportunity to develop healthy behaviors, nor did she and her family have the support system to allow them to feel empowered to keep their family together. Without the right support network, they fell through the safety net and ultimately suffered the tragic loss of this young girl's life. Fortunately, Tia's story is very different. Feeling empowered, Tia is already making her impact on the community through her choices. Her story emphasizes the fact that we must recognize our options and take advantage of the positive in order to see the better outcomes for ourselves and our entire community. If Tia resolved limited herself to certain choices and what seemed easily attainable, based solely on her current circumstances, would she be as empowered as she is today to make a difference and go for what she now knows is possible? She now realizes that she has many more opportunities ahead of her. She can learn a new language, she can become a neurologist, and she can help change the world. And what's even more amazing, that she's not only empowered to better herself, but she's nurturing her entire family. She has become a leader in her own right, and she thanks the YWCA. In fact, each of us present today should take a moment right now to thank and applaud the YWCA for their unselfish and dedicated service. I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to recognize another special person, and that's Tia's mom, Tasha Rodgers, who's here with us today. Tasha, please stand up. I have had the pleasure of meeting the entire Rodgers family. What charming and beautiful people they are. A family that loves, supports, and cherishes one another. I know personally, if it were not for the YWCA, this wonderful family could very well be a shattered family. The YWCA promised a safety net that allowed this family to remain as a family. They allowed this family to stand on their own, not having to settle for an abusive or controlling circumstances. A testimony in how the safety net allows families to move from dependence to independence. Those of us here today are committed to strengthening families. We all recognize the success stories that come out of an organization like the YWCA. We understand that there is so much more to do. We understand that this is our community, and being here today, we represent the voices of those families who have not yet found their solace, their hope, or their opportunity. The YWCA cannot do it alone. They need our partnership and support because their future success depends on the community fabric. I challenge all of us to dream together about what it means to weave that fabric of community support. As Kirsten mentioned in my intro, my experience has shown me that justice is best served when people have genuine hope for their future and the realistic chance of achieving their goals. I wholeheartedly believe that we all play a role in helping to build that community support network, not only because the quality of life of our entire community is depending on it, but because all of our lives will be made better because of it. In closing, let's remember another quote from a promising young lady, Tia Rodgers. Let the magic of the YWCA spark you. It's sparking moms, daughters, and other families. Your support and encouragement are gifts giving to others. Tia has already shown us that she plans on giving her gifts back to others. And so should we. Thank you, and be blessed.
Let's celebrate our chief again, please. Give him another great big hand. We know that you're in a hurry to get back to work and get about your busy day, but before you do that, there's one more thing we need for you to do for us. In saying thank you for all that you have done and for what you're going to do, we simply want you to be reminded that the YWCA exists simply because of you and your giving and your care, your consistent giving. Chief, you have served us so well in the last few months, over and over again. As often as we called you, you came. And we didn't dial 911. Most of the time, we call Ms. Monroe, and she knows how to get you. But you come full circle with us. You've seen the children, and you've seen the families, and you've seen the women. You know what we do. But what we want you to know is that how we do it is with these 300 best friends of the YWCA. They are believers. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you. Thank you for all that you have done, for what you are doing, and for what you intend to do. You can tell from Tia and the words that she had to say that we do work very hard at the YWCA. When I approached the chief and I wanted to greet him for being here today and to thank him, and I said, now, Chief, you be careful because I have to follow you. He said, I'm going to be careful because I'm afraid of Tia. She is the star of the day, and we are so proud of her, a very next motivational speaker. Give her a hand. I need to ask you to do something if you will be so kind. You were invited here by a hostess, and that hostess is sitting at the table now with you, hopefully. Look at that person, and somewhere at the center of the table, you will also find a white little shopping bag. Now, don't do as I did. Do not remove it from the table. But inside of the table is an envelope, and that envelope contains a pledge card. Even if you don't give your gift today, we need you to complete the pledge card. The card indicates a number of ways that you can give. Now, I will say, if you give your gift over time, that gives us a better indication of the support that we have. You can be just like me. I wrote my last check a week ago. And so I'm getting ready to start all over again with a new pledge. We are so grateful for your presence today, for what you have done. Good things are happening. Every year you come back to hear the good news. Let me give you a piece of very good news. Tia's mother was just hired by Duke Energy. Will you give her a hand? I came to the YWCA many, many years ago as a consultant and served providing training sessions for staff and for children and families. Over time, I served as a volunteer because there were times when the YWCA could not pay me. My belief is so deep, I'm willing to do the work without pay as a volunteer. And I was grateful to have that privilege. But more than 3 years ago, I came to the YWCA as a broken businesswoman. Yes, my business went flat. I was so embarrassed. I had no idea how I could continue the work. Well, as I sat down and spoke with the leaders of the YWCA, I was offered a full-time position as the very first family support coordinator. It was because of your gifts, because of what you do on a daily basis to support this agency. I was afforded the opportunity to serve as the very first family support coordinator, and my job was to put my arms around mothers like Tia's and to encourage them to meet with families at their kitchen table, to walk through the school halls and to encourage the staff and teachers and administrators to look closer at our children and find additional ways of helping them. And yes, to coordinate programs just like Strong Men Pushing Reading. Chief was our speaker, and when he came, the sun came up because there were men in the room that had never stood that close to the law with the sun shining on them. We always give good books to our guest speakers and to our men, and we gave a book to the chief called My Pop Pop and Me. He said, that's a favorite book of mine because that's what my children call me. Just like the chief, many of you are centered on your families because you want them to be the best they can be. Regardless of what we do, it is a family that we're concerned about. The love and the support that I received from the YWCA during my time there as a full-time employee really blessed me and my family. For not only could I practice my craft in the evening of my career, but I was also able to take full opportunity of every single benefit afforded the full-time employees. So I walked away from the YW better off than I was when I came. It is my prayer that they are better off that I came that way. Give me a hand if you will. And so I would remind you of your responsibility now. If you will be so kind as to complete that form, leave it at the center of the table inside of the white envelope. And that way we can stay in touch with you because we know that you too believe. As I leave the mic, I simply want to leave these words with you. It's an old Chinese proverb which says, if there is right in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the home. If there is harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. If there's order in the nation, then there will be peace in the world. Peace be with you, my sisters and brothers. Thank you so much for what you have done. Do have a wonderful day.